It's a pleasure to welcome you to today's discussion, and today we are talking about employee retention, one of the critical issues in HR today. Before we delve into that, my name is Tehoda and I'm the Executive Director for the HR Certification Center. The phrase retention is a new recruitment has never been more important or relevant. Organizations are realizing that retaining top talent is as important as hiring a new one. With evolving employee expectations, skill shortages, and let me say the high impact of employee turnover, companies must rethink how we recruit, how we retain, and how we even engage our people when we talk about career development and workplace culture. Today, we have a distinguished HR who will share insight, experiences, and some strategies on how we can retain our talent. And I am here with Dr. Charles Amoah-Wilson, who is a seasoned HR practitioner with over 20 years of experience across manufacturing, media, education, and banking. And we are talking about his experience both in public and private sectors. He is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners, Ghana, and a mentor to several HR professionals and graduate students. Currently, he is serving as the Director, Human Resources at the National Communications Authority, Ghana. Dr. Amoah-Wilson leads HR transformation initiatives within the telecommunication sector. He has been instrumental in shaping HR policies, conditions of service, and strategic framework for the public sector institutions under the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization. Academically, he holds a Doctor of Business Administration from NIPS, or let me say the Swiss Business School, an EMBA in Human Resources from the University of Ghana, the only premier university, and additional certifications in telecom management, education, and cybersecurity leadership from institutions including the Duke University and the University of Colorado Boulder. His expertise spans international business, performance management, HR development, and diversity management, with a keen research interest in the impact of culture on business performance and economic transitions. As an associate of Upskilling Consult, he has led projects in organizational change, executive coaching, HR policy development, and strategic planning. Let me say that Dr. Wilson Amoah, or Amoah-Wilson, has enough expertise to speak to today's issue. His profile is a very tall one, and we cannot go into that. But we'll hear from him, and we will judge based on his profile. Welcome to the HR Talk, Doctor.
Thank you.
Right. It's an honor to have you, I must say.
Right.
And your experiences and academic qualifications, reading from your profile, is a very deep one.
Yeah.
And today we are talking HR, we are talking employee retention. And I'm sure that with your 20 years plus of work experience, you will bring that knowledge to bear on our discussion today. So once again, welcome to the HR Talk.
Thank you.
So we will take a quick break. When we resume, we will delve straight into the topic.
HR Certification Center commits to a higher standard.
Why do 93% of the world's leading multinational companies prefer certified professionals? Because they tend to be committed to higher standards and ethics and maintain an informed intercultural competency. Whether you're seeking to build a career or to upgrade your HR professional career, you need to get trained and certified at the HR Certification Center today. Our experience in training and certifying HR professionals is unparalleled. We're trusted to offer a comprehensive portfolio of advanced professional credentials for the HR professionals worldwide, and today, more than 500,000 HR professionals worldwide in 125 plus countries proudly maintain our credentials as a mark of higher professional distinction. HR Certification Center. Call or WhatsApp today on 0244 122 855.
Welcome back. This is the HR Talk brought to you by the HR Certification Center. And today we are talking about employee retention. And our topic is retention is the new recruitment. So Doc, let me find out from you.
Right.
This particular phrase, retention being the new recruitment, what does it mean to you?
All right. Thank you very much. As you were giving the introduction, long introduction, well, it was quite long, and I hope that with my experiences and interaction with people, both in academia, industry, public service, and others, we're able to bring it to bear on the topic. Now, retention, on the face of it, is the ability of an organization to retain, to keep its competent and motivated staff within the organization. You know, we live in an era where it is very difficult to retain staff. In the years gone by, when we started working, there was an idea we called the psychological contract, where people are likely to remain with the organization they started working with. And so if I started working with, say, University of Ghana, it is possible that I'll work there throughout my tenure of employment till I retire. But the current generations that are entering into the workforce do not subscribe to this, or that psychological contract is dissipating. So it's a very big challenge for organizations currently to retain their competent and motivated staff who can work to enable the organizations to achieve their objectives. So it's a very topical issue that we are discussing. I believe that it will be of immense benefit to colleague practitioners, to industry, and to the country at large.
The last time I was sharing an experience with somebody that today you cannot just say that, oh, I am one of the well-paying, organizations or companies, and you expect your people to stay with you.
Right.
People are looking for so many other things, and sometimes they even come to us to negotiate whether they can do 2 days in the office, 3 days away from the office, whether they can, come in and close at 2 p.m. or can they come in at 2 p.m. and close at 5 p.m. They are negotiating all sorts of things. And so for the companies that are likely to retain their top talent are the ones that are merging competitive salary, training opportunities, and they are creating a safe environment and are also focused on work-life balance. And today they said it's no longer work-life balance, but we are talking about work-life fit. They want to fit into certain space, and so you have to create those opportunities for them. If you are just joining us, this is the HR Talk, and we are talking about retention being the new recruitment. So Doc, let's move on to how we can balance the cost of retention initiatives with the financial pressures. It's a bit cost involving. It takes a lot of money to hire new people when you lose one. So we are talking about high turnover. How can companies balance the cost of retention initiatives with the pressures of high turnover?
Right, thank you. In fact, recruitment itself is an expensive venture. If companies would take time to cost or evaluate the cost of advertisement, the cost of shortlisting in terms of man hours, the cost of conducting employment tests, interviews, medical examination, reference checks, and other recruitment and selection processes, you will see that it is very, very expensive.
Exactly.
So if it is that expensive, why don't we endeavor to retain those we have already employed? So we have to compare the typical cost of recruiting one employee and the cost of maintaining or retaining an employee in the long run. Retaining an employee in the long run provides more benefits.
Exactly.
Because this employee, by retention, will become more productive, will have more organizational memory, will probably be more loyal to the employer, and will become an even ambassador of the organization to the community and even to consumers. So, taking all these things into consideration, it is better to focus on existing employees, provide strategies and actions that will make them stay longer. Because they become more like employers who retain employees longer are seen as employers of choice. You remember in those days of Unilever and other organizations, they were branded as employers of choice. And every young graduate was aspiring to work for them.
Once you finish university, you want to go there.
Yes, because they had seen people in their communities who had worked along with them and they had prospered. And so why don't you also aspire to do the same? But if I hop into an organization, the next year or two, I hop to another, the organization is incurring all these costs, training and retraining. It becomes more like training grounds for other organizations. So why don't I put in measures that will make me retain my competent and loyal staff instead of putting in anything that will let people come in and go at their will. In the long run, retention provides more benefit than otherwise.
And let me say that high turnover actually creates a dent in your brand image.
Sure.
Yes, because people come into your organization and they leave. So for you, every 3 months you're recruiting, every 6 months you're recruiting. And you see, once you're putting the advert out there, people are watching and they are branding you, they are labeling you in a certain way. All right, so Doc is saying that if you want to be an employer of choice, you must be intentional and deliberate at retaining your top talent, and not just your top talent, but every employee that comes into your space.
Sure.
You must be intentional about recruiting or retaining them. And there's something we call tacit knowledge, as Doc is explaining. It is expensive for employees to move because once you recruit a new one, it would take some period, sometimes 3 months, sometimes 6 months, for the person to get the knowledge of how the organization operates. So employers, let's be intentional and deliberate at retaining our employees. All right? So Doc, moving on, what role would you say employee engagement plays in retention? And how can HR leaders, the likes of yourself and then the others that are watching us, how can they foster a culture that keeps employees motivated and loyal?
Thank you. I would define employee engagement as having employees who are willing and are committed to work to enable the organization achieve its objectives on daily basis. Engagement could be on two levels. Could be at two levels. Physical engagement. I'm required to come to work 8 to 5. I come. I show face. I swipe the time and attendance. I'm there. 5 o'clock I close. Physically, I'm there. Then there's the psychological part. The person could be physically there, but psychologically, mentally, is not. You could have employees come and show face, but on the ground, they are watching films, videos. On the ground, they are working online for even a competitor. On the ground, they are whiling away time, waiting for 5 to knock, and then off they go. So, employee engagement is very important. We must get our employees physically present if need be, and then also psychological or mentally present, committed to doing the work of the organization. So to get employees engaged, they are not too difficult. We must strive to build an all-inclusive workforce. You know, we live in an era of inclusivity, diversity, and all the accolades. Ghana, for example, has just passed the affirmative action Act. So in the near future, it is possible that, especially in the public service, and then extended to the industry, to have minimum percentages of female employees in many organizations. So once we get, such things are coming into our environment, we have to create an environment where employees will be happy even coming to work. So the work environment is one. Rules and regulations that also help them to be engaged. It's also part. You have to also build employee loyalty, make the employees loyal to you. For employees to be loyal to you, the employer has to show trust. The employer has to first show that you can be trusted and that they will also be loyal. There are a few things we can do in that regard. For example, as the good book says, we mourn with those who mourn and rejoice with those who rejoice. So in the Ghanaian environment, for example, an employee is bereaved. If employer shows face during the funeral, it's a big plus, because funerals are a big social event. So if the employees see that, during their weddings, when they were bereaved, the employer or my manager, supervisor showed up, they are likely to see you as a more human person and become more loyal to you. If you provide certain perks like lunch, coffee makers advantage point, subsidized lunch for employees, subsidized transport for employees, they'll be more engaged and we will tend to retain them also longer. What about long service awards? No, I'm looking at engagement and retention. They go together. If the people are engaged and we are retaining them, we get the benefits of of these together. So why don't you provide these things? Housing is a big issue. Why don't you help them? If you cannot provide the physical cash, arrange the banks to give them loans for rent, or those who want to build, if the capacity is there. Sometimes help them to negotiate for good deals, or help them to pay the interests. Or employer could help them acquire tracts of land when such are available. It's difficult for an individual to do these things in our country, but when the employer with this muscle come together and do those things, the employers will be more likely to stay. Of late, the youngsters, they're talking about happy hour. Why don't you reserve some time of the day, maybe Friday afternoon, where they can loosen down and share some drinks and watch some matches, maybe for an hour, late Friday, and then they could be fine. We are talking about one of the issues is discipline, where people think that they are fairly treated. When they have issues, they are given say, they are offered opportunity to state their side of the story. No, there's an adage that you praise people in public and you reprimand them in private. You let them save face. So these strategies, some are monetary, some are also non-monetary. They are things we can put in place. It makes the employees more loyal, more engaged, and eventually we could retain them for a longer period.
Thank you, Doc. We will take a break. We have been talking to Dr. Charles Amoah-Wilson, a seasoned human resource practitioner with over 20 years of experience, and we have been talking on retention as the new recruitment. We'll be back.
Certification Center commits to a higher standard.
Why do 93% of the world's leading multinational companies prefer certified professionals? Because they tend to be committed to higher standards and ethics and maintain an informed intercultural competency. Whether you're seeking to build a career or to upgrade your HR professional career, you need to get trained and certified at the HR Certification Center today. Our experience in training and certifying HR professionals is unparalleled. We're trusted to offer a comprehensive portfolio of advanced professional credentials for the HR professionals worldwide, and today, more than 500,000 HR professionals worldwide in 125 plus countries proudly maintain our credentials as a mark of higher professional distinction. HR Certification Center. Call or WhatsApp today on 0244 122 855.
Welcome back. This is the HR Talk brought to you by the HR Certification Center. We have been speaking with Dr. Amoah-Wilson. If you are just joining and you are an HR practitioner, either at the entry level, mid-level, or at the strategic level, there is a certification for you here at the HR Certification Center. And so if you have between 2 to 4 years work experience, all you need to do is to call our admissions hotline on 0244 122 855, and we will gladly serve you with the necessary requirements for you to enroll. Our next session is on. You don't want to miss this opportunity. And we have been talking about retention being the new recruitment, and Doc has served us with some great strategies that you don't want to miss. Stay tuned as we delve into the remaining questions. Doc, so you have spoken about strategies that employers can adopt to retain their people, and we also agree that there are certain skill gaps in our workforce. And so we will be talking about skills gap, and you would help us appreciate skills gap properly and what we can do to maybe close those skills gap. All right. So how can organizations address skill gaps and labor shortages? By focusing on upskilling, and my emphasis is on upskilling existing employees.
Thank you. So let me try to define what skills gap for the sake of our audience. So I'll take it from two levels. Skills gap is the expected skills that an employee ought to have vis-a-vis the current skill that he or she has. Yes. The expected and the current. The difference is the skills gap. At the national front is the skills that are needed to drive our economy, and then the skills we have currently, the stock of skills we have currently, and the levels of skills that we need to drive our economy to the desired level. So from my experience, I see that whilst the universities and other institutions are producing thousands of graduates each year, and it's very good, but the skills that employers need, the students that are coming don't have it readily. They need to be trained and refined over time to gain that skill. So first of all, I would entreat colleagues in academia and the various university and institutional faculties that the internship concept should be deepened. There should be a strong collaboration between industry, commerce, and educational institutions. So if the faculties are collaborating with employers and we meet occasionally, we're able to tell them the direction which the world of work is doing, and then the lecturers in academia could prepare the students to as close as possible to this direction, so that when they come to work, the world of work, it will take them a shorter time to be able to deliver. Currently, it takes much longer time to prepare a young graduate to be able to deliver. But attachment and internship is a great idea. It must be deepened. But regular collaboration between academia and employers will also help in that regard. Having said that, there are several ways we can do to upskill. that is increasing the skill level of young graduates or of employees. The labor law enjoins us to train and retrain. So training, capacity building will not stop. It will continue, just like farming. Seed time and harvest will not stop. It continues. So we need to start training. Currently, there are specialized skills which are in short supply in Ghana. Even though we have a large number of graduates coming, we have some specialized IT skills which are in short supply. Students who can, or candidates who can do coding, programming, data analysis, business process analysis, AI specialists are in short supply in the country. So any young graduate who be trained to have these skills in the area which employers desire to have. If a young graduate, I'm giving a queue. Areas that you can, well, for a young employee, I'm giving you a queue in areas that you need to hone in your skills. Areas such as the mastery of Excel. You know, Excel is the mother of all softwares. We can use Excel to do so many things: accounting, mathematics, statistics. You can even use Excel to do advanced programming. I find that many candidates joining the world of work have very basic knowledge of Excel. So we need people to be experts in that, because if I'm taking decisions, we have what we call decision support systems, and the advanced knowledge in Excel can help you in that regard. So we need also engineers. There are a lot of engineers that come, but obviously the difference between the theory and the practice is so wide, and that needs to be bridged along the line. We are talking about coaching and mentoring. And one of the best means of getting skills, even in our traditional societies, was apprenticeship, or what in modern times we call on-the-job training. So a young graduate comes in and is attached to an experienced engineer, and over time the skills are transferred to this young person, and he begins to deliver. The young person is able to relate the theory in school to the workshop setting, to the laboratory setting more quickly. So on-the-job training is something that employers must take seriously. You should attach young employees to experienced ones. The caveat is experienced and competent ones. Some may be there for long, but they don't have the skills. Those ones, if you attach young ones to them, they may adopt their old bad ways.
Yes.
But competent and experienced people, and they learn on the job very quickly. We are talking sometimes employers can even take them, sponsor academic courses. They go and do MBA, they go and do statistics, they may do masters in engineering, etc., etc. If the organization has the wherewithal, the financial muscle, you can sponsor employees and also bond them. When they complete school, they can, there's a minimum number of years they ought to stay before they may leave. But mostly when they finish school, you treat them well, they may stay longer, they become more loyal to you. So academic courses, sometimes short courses, like the courses the HR Certification Center.
Exactly.
If you are an HR person, administrative person, you can take advantage of this. About 6 months,
yes,
you should be able to get some certification, and you become top-notch. I have in my department at NCA over 4 employees who have participated in the HR certification, and I can testify that their performance has improved tremendously.
That's a feather in our cap. But Doc, let's stay on upskilling a bit. I know there's been loads of conversations on whose responsibility it is. I want to take your view on that. Do you think it's a responsibility of the employer, or you think it is the responsibility of the employee to upskill?
Thank you. I would say the responsibility lies on both. The employer can create the environment for upskilling or for further career management or career development. the employer can create that environment. It is also the responsibility of the employee to take advantage of that environment. Or even when the environment is not too conducive, to be able to develop your skill further. Let me use myself as an example. I joined the world of work after first degree graduation. Over the time, I went to do an MBA. And then after the MBA, I realized that I was also responsible for trading. So I did postgraduate diploma in education, and that helped me to become a very good trainer. And later on in life, when I started lecturing, that course in education came in handy. And then I continued to the doctoral level. So it's like a lifelong learning.
Yes.
And so I had not rested on my hours since graduation. For the past 20 years, almost every 5 years, I do something new. I upskill myself. I upgrade myself. And so the responsibility for upskilling lies with the employer, but most importantly, with the employees. Take advantage of the environment. Now, you can do a lot of courses, even online. There are certification centers. You can do professional courses. And if you do a professional course, you must join the professional body. And when you join the professional body, they have continuous professional education. That's what you have to, some of the things you have to take advantage of as an employee. And then you subscribe to their code of conduct and code of behavior and become better. Now, with the power of internet, you can sit on your desk and learn so many things. There are courses you can do for free. There are some you pay a token. And all this, somebody said, your working life, the future of your working life will be determined by what you do after 5 p.m. When people have closed, where do you spend your time? Are you at the lecture room? Are you at the drinking bar? Are you at the club? Or what are you doing? Are you watching TV throughout? What are you doing? Why don't you spend the time to read a new book every month? Why don't you spend the time to research, desktop research on the internet? Why don't you enroll in a school? Why don't you improve yourself? The future is for those who have prepared themselves.
Right.
And the future is what we create today. So I urge employees, especially the young ones, take control of your career. Take control of your skill development. The employers can do something to some extent, but the rest lies on you.
On that note, the future of your working life is determined by what you do after 5 p.m. or let me say in some cases after 4 p.m. says Doc. And I'm sure you're picking some lessons and you're taking notes and you have your questions. There'll be opportunity for you to keep your questions in the comment sections and we will respond to them. Once again, we have been on the HR Talk and we are talking about retention being the new recruitment. Doc, we agree that people in our space these days, employees, are changing. Their expectations are vast and varied. They are demanding so many things of us, the employer. Sometimes it feels like we are pushed to the wall and we have to either agree or otherwise.
Right.
I want to have your take on remote working, or let me say hybrid working, and a bit of creating the balance. Remote work, is it to the advantage of the employer? Hybrid work, is it to the advantage of the employer? And how does this fit into work-life balance?
Okay. So overall, your question borders on flexibility.
Flexibility,
work
exactly.
flexibility.
Yes.
Now, after the onset of COVID, the issue of flexi time or flexible work became very topical. And when you go to US, almost all the technology organizations were doing about 70% working from home, remote working, and about 30 to 20% on-site. It was in vogue until about this year when it has been noted that employers are recalling most of their employees who are working from home. But it hasn't left the radar at all. And as you said, the generations, the Gen Z and others who are coming, are looking for more flexible working hours. Some want to work from home, some want to do some fixed hours at home and then at the office. Some even want to work as independent contractors. They don't want to be brought down by 5 to 8. So they come in, do 3-4 hours, particular projects, and then they are gone. They are paid and are gone. So then new mothers, after the maternity leave, wish they could do more remote work. But it also depends if the conditions are conducive, that whether they are working remote or on-site, they can meet their targets. So it depends on each organization, and it depends on the technological setup of the organization. Do you have the facilities? Do employees have the laptops? Do they have the routers? Do they have the data that will enable them to log on to the net? And then have they been trained to set up at their various homes so that they can still deliver? And how are we able to supervise and monitor their online presence, whether they are working as they ought to do, or they are just switch on the camera, put it on something, and then they are doing something else. So all these are areas that we need to put in place if we want to really have flexible working hours in Ghana. But it is something that has started. It won't go away very soon. So employers need to look at it and ensure that they have given adequate support to employees to be able to work remote or do flexi time and also meet their targets.
Thank you, Doc, on that. Let's look at some key challenges that we face as HR professionals, especially when we are talking about shifting the focus from just hiring to more retention first approach. What challenges do you think HRs have faced in this regard?
As we said initially, it is more economically, it's more beneficial to retain your staff than to continue to hire and lose them along the line and hire, etc., etc. So, but there are challenges. One, employers are now dealing with a bigger pool of employees now. If an employer advertises in the dailies or by other means, you are likely to have a huge response because of our employment situation. You are likely to have a huge response. Sifting through these loads of applicants, shortlisting and taking them through the recruitment process represents a cost. So if we could maintain existing ones and make them more productive, why not? So that we will not incur those costs. Down, we have the quantity. We have a pool of employees we can pull from. But what is the skill level? What is the competency level? So we look out for, the mantra now is we recruit for attitude, those with positive attitude, and then we train them for skills and upscale it over time. Because if the attitude is wrong, you'll come and become a problem to the organization. So you have to sift through all this, and the process of sifting through to get people with positive attitude is not easy. It has to go through a recruitment process, interviewing, psychological tests, etc., and all this is a challenge. Nowadays, modern organizations are even using AI, artificial intelligence, to do this analysis. But that also has its own downsides. You see, as we have, most of these AI models are developed outside the country, or they have been developed using parameters different from our culture. For example, we use an AI to help us making selection out of an interview. The AI has been built in such a way that eye contact with the candidates, eye contact with the interviewers and others were all part of the assessment. You know, in the Western world, they are assuming that people who maintain eye contact are more confident, they are more trustworthy, etc. In our settings of high power distance, you are likely to be talking to another person and look down. Or person authority and look down. The AI pick these cues and think that you are not suitable because the parameters are different from our cultural settings. So if we're going to use AI to help you sift through and retain people or get the best out of that, then you must localize the algorithms or the parameters so that it will get the best out of it. So all these things have challenges that we have to deal with. Then the workforce alignment. Now we have different generations. We have different generations coming into the work environment. Different generations, different characteristics. Sorry, I'm going way back. I'm going in a macro level because these are challenges that employers are confronted with on a daily basis. So the panels will have to look at the various generations, and if I use those who are 50 and others, their characteristics to assess current, I may think that they are not suitable or they are too aggressive. But if I understand the current generation and their characteristics, I will know that they are not bad, but that is the predominant characteristics that we have to deal with, and then align our supervisory skills and others to be in that. So hiring poses challenges. Retention, as we have discussed already, has its own challenges. But as usual, it would be better to put in strategies to retain your people than always hiring. Some level of hiring will be needed because due to natural attrition, people may retire, people may leave for one reason or the other. Some may get married, want to join spouses here and there. Some natural other things come in. But if you have measures in place, the attrition level will be minimal, and that your recruitment levels would also be minimal, and your costs would also reflect that.
Right.
But ultimately, both of them have challenges that proactive employers have to deal with for the benefit of the organization.
In our conversation, it feels like we are almost concluding that retention is the best approach, for every organization, because we are saying that it's cost effective and it helps you with productivity as well. And I know that some organizations have, retention plan or retention strategy. Right from the beginning, they have plans, they have things they want to do, or they have actions they have to take to ensure that they retain their people. But now we are in the era of technology, we are in the era of AI, like you mentioned, and we are talking about data analytics and all of that. How is technology, HR metrics, HR analytics helping us to retain our people?
Right. That's an evolving area all over the world. There has been recent conferences even at the UN level, on how AI will impact the world in the near future. So it is no wonder that in human resource management, we should also be concerned about AI. AI in human resource deals more with predictive analysis. If you put data in an AI model, it's able to predict with some degree of accuracy on the outcome of it. So the caveat is that you don't depend solely on the outcome of the HR predictive analysis, but you also use the normal human analysis to complement the AI models. The advantage with AI is that it could predict the outcome using large volumes. For example, if you have had about, say, 50,000 respondents on a particular issue, AI can do an assessment and predict in a very short time. But you can imagine if we're using humans, how many people and how many hours the cost. So AI helps HR in several ways. For example, even in recruitment and selection, if we put in the employees' data, assuming they have applied online, and we put in into the AI model, it will be able to tell us employees who are more likely to succeed in our environment, looking at them based on the parameters we have put in place. AI also helps to determine employee satisfaction. So it will help us to gauge whether current HR policies and measures in place, how satisfied our employees, what is the percentage of satisfaction, and what interventions can we do. I mean, talking about AI, sometimes it sounds very high. If you're on WhatsApp and you are typing, you see that as you are typing, WhatsApp is giving you words,
predictive words, yes,
anticipating the words, and then, so that if you are typing and it's that word, then you tap on it, and
yes,
then halfway it makes it. That is an example of AI. If you are in WhatsApp and you want some information, you can type it into Meta. There's a place for Meta, and it will tell you, and it will give a lot of information. Then you use the human factor to decipher which ones are suitable. So that is kind of, when we're talking about AI, that's how close it is to us. So AI can help us in recruitment and selection. It helps us to assess and predict employee satisfaction. It can even tell us with some degree of accuracy how long an employee is likely to stay with the organization based on the parameters we put in. It can tell us the best approach to even train new hires. It can, if a new hire answers a series of questions, it can help us to tell the learning style of particular employees, and then we respond in that direction so they can get a maximum out of them. It can tell us how far flexible the organization needs to be to retain its staff. So it has come to stay, and HR practitioners need not shy away from it. We must learn it, we must adopt it and use it, but we should adopt the hybrid approach. The outcome of the AI predictive outcomes and the use of common sense approach, HR knowledge and experience, then you can get a best outcome out of the use of AI.
Doc, I must say that this discussion has been very informative and revealing. You know, sometimes you engage with the HR practitioners and they have all sorts of challenges. And I'm sure that if they are watching this, they are learning and they are picking some cues on how they can help retain people in the organizations. And we've been talking about how employers can shift the focus from just hiring to retention, even at the process of doing recruitment. And Doc has been telling us how we can deploy AI to do the analysis, but of course we must also not lose focus of the human touch. Like we would always say, put the human back in human resources. We take a short break, we will resume shortly.
Certification Center commits to a higher standard.
Why do 93% of the world's leading multinational companies prefer certified professionals? Because they tend to be committed to higher standards and ethics and maintain an informed intercultural competency. Whether you're seeking to build a career or to upgrade your HR professional career, you need to get trained and certified at the HR Certification Center today. Our experience in training and certifying HR professionals is unparalleled. We're trusted to offer a comprehensive portfolio of advanced professional credentials for the HR professionals worldwide, and today, more than 500,000 HR professionals worldwide in 125 plus countries proudly maintain our credentials as a mark of higher professional distinction. HR Certification Center. Call or WhatsApp today on 0244 122 855.
Welcome back. This is the HR Talk brought to you by the HR Certification Center. And today we have been looking at retention being the new recruitment. And my guest, very deep, very insightful with all of his experiences. But Doc, let's stay on retention again.
Right.
And I know that some companies have used what we call internal mobility, you know,
Right.
where we move people from one role to the other. Yeah. Sometimes we we call it job shadowing, sort of. How has it been in your organization? What have you done in that regard when we talk about retention?
Okay. Well, we have also used internal mobility extensively. One of the key things for employers is that you don't want people to be bored, or you do one particular thing over and over, and then boredom sets in. It becomes too routine. It loses its excitement and the drive. So one of the things we used to do is to transfer people from one department to the other. So you could be in, say, finance, and we are transferred to audit. The issue is that where you are transferred to, will you be able to deliver? Will you be able to perform? So that is the watchword for where the person can go, where the person can be transferred to. There are organizations that used to do management trainee programs.
Still doing it?
Some still do it.
Yes.
So they take a pool of young graduates, and then they take them through training. They rotate to about 5, 6, 7 departments, sometimes over a 2-year period. So it means that that employee has the potential to be transferred to any of those departments or divisions that he or she has been taken through during the management trainee period. So when there are vacancies or when there's need for transfer, because of the training you have had during the management training period, you can be transferred there.
Exactly.
But the essence is that wherever you are transferred to, you must be able to perform with some level of minimum level of training. We can also do project assignments. So we want to do a particular project, and we group 5, 6, 10 people into a project team. They learn and then execute that project. So that's also one of the ways we can do internal mobility. We can also do attachments, where we have done this over time, where a particular skill is not in existence in our organization. Then we look for a sister organization, let's say another regulator in the country, or if need be, could be in the sub-region. Then a staff is attached to that regulator with that skill, and then with time, he learns that skill and come over. So you move around, and it comes back with a new perspective, with new cultural orientation, and more poised to deliver. We could also do reassignments. You can be in the same department, but you are reassigned to something else, or what's also known as job rotation. Today you are in financial accounting. After about a year, you go to cost accounting, you go to management reporting, or you go to credit control. So the essence is that you are rotated, or you are assigned to different units in the same division. What I do is that when we engage new employees, I let them rotate among the various units in HR departments. And so we train you first as an HR generalist. You can do general HR work. And then with time, you specialize in a particular area, you become an HR specialist in a particular area. The essence is that when one person is not available,
you
can easily stand in for that person with minimum level of training or coaching because you have done it before. You can also be, sometimes we do social work. So internal mobility, we consider we have adopted a particular school, and so we require that particular employees may do some minimum of hours teaching or doing something with the students. So that is not within the organization, but it's something, it's community initiative that we have adopted to do. So internal mobility, it could be movement within the same division or department. It could be movement within the same organization we are assigned to other transfer. It could even be the same organization, but it has branches. For example, Ghana Police has branches throughout the country. Exactly. So you could be in Accra Command, you are transferred to Tema Command, transferred to Kumasi Command, etc. So you experience different commands in different geographical area. So all these things are meant to improve skill, are meant to reduce boredom, are meant for you to experience other areas to make you better.
Doc, let me say that I am in awe of your experience over 20 years, and I'm sure that you've seen it all, you've heard it all, and one of the things you possibly would come across is the statement that says that we train them and they leave. What are we supposed to do? And somebody will say, what if you don't train them and they end up staying? What would be your advice to HR practitioners listening to us today on this discussion? Let's have your take.
Okay, so colleagues, HR, as you said, sometimes when everything is going on well in HR, nobody complains. Exactly. But the least thing that counts is HR. So let's keep on doing the good work. It's all about people. From the beginning to the end, it's all about people. How they come in and how they separate or leave. It's all about people, and that's what HR do. So we should not be discouraged. We should do it better. Now, we have to. When people come in, they come in raw form, like a raw material, and so we train them, we sharpen them, we upskill them in various areas, both on the job and off job, the hard skill and the soft skills. So we cannot afford not to train. And with the current dynamic business environment, change is only constant.
The constant thing.
Things are evolving by the day. So if you don't train our people, they'll be obsolete. They cannot function. And if you train them, they become better. And sometimes they catch the eyes of the poachers. But what do? Eventually, it's for the betterment of the whole economy.
Yes, exactly.
Or sometimes for the whole world. I have staff who have been trained so much that international bodies have employed them. When they are working with these organizations at the International Telecommunications Union, at the African Telecommunications Union, or at the West African Telecommunications Assembly, they are regarded as ambassadors of Ghana. And by extension, ambassadors of our organization. So even though some may leave, we have the obligation to train and retrain them. Sometimes some even go and come back. Some may become consultants to the organization at a later point in their careers. So if you don't train them, they will not be productive. If you train them, they'll be more productive. Some may leave, but what do? We have to keep on doing what we know best as HR.
On that note, in today's business landscape, change is the only constant. As we wrap up this discussion, one thing is clear for me, that retention is not just an HR function, but it's also a business imperative. The cost of turnover, the war for talent, sometimes you train them and others are poaching them and all of that. The changing workforce expectation means that organizations must prioritize employee experience, growth, and engagement. Doc, we want to say a very big thank you for joining us today on the HR Talk, brought to you by the HR Certification Center. We are elated that you're able to join us to share your experiences, to give us, some deep strategies. And Doc said that if you want to be an employer of choice, you must have a retention mindset. This has been the HR Talk, brought to you by the HR Certification Center. My name is Tehoda, the Executive Director for the HR Certification Center.
Why do 93% of the world's leading multinational companies prefer certified professionals? Because they tend to be committed to higher standards and ethics and maintain an informed intercultural competency. Whether you're seeking to build a career or to upgrade your HR professional career, you need to get trained and certified at the HR Certification Center today. Our experience in training and certifying HR professionals is unparalleled. We're trusted to offer a comprehensive portfolio of advanced professional credentials for the HR professionals worldwide, and today, more than 500,000 HR professionals worldwide in 125 plus countries proudly maintain our credentials as a mark of higher professional distinction. HR Certification Center. Call or WhatsApp today on 0244 122